one master clutch assembly. Electrical connector off. It has been drained down this, so it shouldn't cause any problems. This plate I've taken off already because I wanted to inspect it to see whether it was leaking. This was just held on by 6 screws, and it's got some residue in there. It's not horrendous. I'm going to change it anyway as a matter of course, since I've done the slave cylinder. And first of all, somehow we have to try and remove this thing. 6 bolts first of all, in a copper pipe, like a brake line equivalent, to remove, and that's probably it. So leave that on there for now, and we'll start loosening the 6 bolts which hold this in place, because you have to remove it in order to get access to this thing. So let's get ahead and crack those bolts off, which I have already soaked in penetrating fluid last night, so hopefully they won't be too bad. Oh, there's another one. Thought that was a bit too easy. Oh, fella. First one came off a dawdle, the second one. Alright. Alright, there's a spring of some kind, obviously a return, and to come out. I don't think I'm going to get this carpet out much better than I've already got. And that spring needs to come out. Alright, here we go. Inside the driver's footwell, that's a clutch pedal, and there are 6 bolts, 2 of which are hidden under this piece of trim retainer. I think I'll get access with a spanner. I'm not going to be able to video it. It's 2 bolts, looking quite good condition from inside, a bit rusty on the back side. There's another 2 in the middle, and there's 2 way back down here, which are awkward to get out with a camera, so I'm just going to remove them without the camera there. There shouldn't be too much trouble. Right, this is what I've got so far, and yes, what a mess, and what a nightmare trying to get this out at the moment. The access is horrendous because of this carpet. If you don't have the carpet, you're probably going to be good to go, but because I got the carpet, it's become a nightmare trying to get them. It's just that I've had to take a lot of gear out just to get these 6 bolts out. One of them, it's this like slam panel which holds the carpet in place. So I've had to take the bottom part of the dash, 4 screws along there. Unfortunately this was dropping out. I thought I was going to have to drop the whole dash out. But that plate's come out. I've taken the accelerator pedal off. Again, it's just 2 bolts which go through the bulkhead, just so I can get this carpet out a little bit more. The spring, which you can see, these are the last 2 bolts I'm working on. This one is how the spring is attached to it. It's out of sight if you've got that trim panel on, so that's what you're looking at, that's what you're facing. I managed to get this end loose. You're never ever going to get this end loose until you take the bolt off. And that's the last remaining bolt, and then that, I'm hoping that's it free. But God, what a nightmare. These come off quite easy, but it's just the access of them. There we go. I mean, that comes through the other side. It's slightly corroded. Clean that up. There's no thread on there. It's more a locating bolt at the start. But yeah, God, you can see all the devastation inside, and that's a typical Land Rover job. I suspect I even had to take the fuse panel off to try and get some access. But I'm there now, hopefully. Last bolt now. You can just see I've had to use so many different tools. This is quite handy, gets a few of them. Again, lots of bash knuckles. And the other one I've been able to use is the extension bar, of various extension bars, wobble bars these are, to get better access. But I'm there. Last one to come out, and then hopefully the box will shuffle out once I've taken the hydraulic pipe part off. Alright, so this is the final one. Oh, that took some doing. Land Rover maintenance at its finest. Alright, so we got this box. Should now be ready to break free. I just need to undo this one here, and you should be able to somehow jiggle this out, which I'm not going to probably be able to do with a camera in my hand. So I'm going to loosen this one up. It's a 13. That's it cracked at least. Probably going to have to take this breather pipe off to get access. Oh, it's quite loose actually. Let's have a go. Got a bit of movement on it. Come on. Be good. Just trying to make a bit of room to slide it out. Alright, that's it out. I loosened this in the end. There's like I think it's a 7-8 milli bolt on this, and it just gives it a little bit of free movement. I was able to push that out the way. It is a fight to get it out. It will come out. You just have to keep twisting it round and moving all the pipes and the electrics out the way. I've treated the area, I've cleaned it up, taken the gasket off, and a bit of bubbling under there, a bit of rust, so I've put some rust buster on. I'll prime it and put a top coat on tomorrow once that's dried. Alright, this is the offending article. If you look inside there, it's absolutely hacky with junk. So that should not be like that, I don't think. So that's been getting into the system, I think. I could have probably cleaned it out, but this is the original master clutch cylinder, so I'll take that off. I'm going to clean this box up a little bit. You can see it's corroded up. Is this gasket. Let's have a look at him. I've got to keep that. It's like I've got some neoprene I'm going to use. If you buy the original of these, it's about £26. Even the OEM ones, like 20 odd pounds just for a bit of gasket. So I'm going to make my own one of those. got the neoprene to do it. It's probably the same thickness actually. Might put some gasket sealant on as well, see how that goes. Just going to refurb this up a little bit. It's not too bad. Just do a general clean up. I know some people, let's have a look, drill a hole in here, which I'm probably going to do. I'll do that tomorrow. I've had enough for today. It's taken longer than I thought it would take. And I'm just going to clean this up tomorrow when I'm feeling a bit more up for it. And I'm waiting on the new cylinder to arrive. Should be tomorrow or the day after. And this needs greasing up. Yeah, just a general tidy up of this. I'll do it tomorrow and my hands aren't as horrendously covered. And I've got a bit more keenness to do it after today's battle. Sort of happy with where I am. I set myself a target of doing the slave cylinder today and getting this box out, which I've done. It's just taken a bit longer than I thought it would, but heading in the right direction, and it always goes back together a lot quicker than it comes apart. Right, this is the original gasket that's come off the clutch box, and it does compress. I'm not sure what thickness it is, and this is about, I think I said before, it's about £26 if you buy one of these, which is an absolute rip-off price. I think, I mean, that is probably about 2 or 3 milli when it's being compressed, but this part hasn't been compressed, and it's probably about knocking on 5 millimeters. Right, so I'm going to make my own out of this, which is a neoprene, and this is the best I can find. This is the red stuff. I've just made this template. The actual gasket that I took off that I had there was destroyed. It was too misshapen for me to be able to cut round, so I've measured up the actual clutch box assembly, and I've marked out where I'm going to make my proper template, and hopefully I'm going to cut round this and make one that'll work. It's not thick enough, but it's better than nothing. This I got from a hobby store. I had it laying around actually, and I'm pretty sure if I went back there they'd do a thicker type material, but at the end of the day it's just to provide a bit of insulation to stop the water ingress and the like. So I'm hoping this is going to be thick enough. I may put some silicone seal on as well. We'll see how that goes. But if anyone wants this template, it looks pretty accurate. I've offered it up against the clutch box assembly, and it pretty much lines up well. So if anyone wants a copy in PDF form that can print out to make it, just drop me a line, email, message, or whatever it is. So hopefully this will do the job. Now the holes, I'm going to have to use something to punch those out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I think I've got something that you use on belts, or it's definitely a hole punch of some kind in the garage. Never used it before. I'll go see if I can dig it out later on. Failing that, I'll just cut a bit of a relief hole in these and then drive the actual bolts through there. I think it'll still work okay. Cuts quite well the neoprene, I've got to say. I thought it'd be a bit tougher than that, but hopefully we can get a good result from this. You don't have to be bang on accurate. There's that much material surrounding it. I'm not that worried about being bang on accurate. This was out of a A4 sheet, so if you can find an A4 of this stuff, I think it's about 100 milli wide, 250 long at the extremities. So if you're looking for something to make yours from, some people use the stuff that you put under as insulation on wooden flooring, that stuff. Now I've got some of that in the garage, but I tried it and it didn't look so good. It was probably not as durable as this thing, so we'll give these a go and see how it turns out. I've actually got this neoprene taped down a little bit just to give me a chance at cutting it at least. Yeah, the blade's starting to go a bit. We'll get that. Alright, there we go. One gasket. It's not bad. It's better than spending £26 on a piece of neoprene. That's for sure. So I'll punch the holes out in that, and hopefully I think that'll be good enough. One gasket. Modification I'm going to make, I'm going to drill this out here to allow, I think it's a 13mm socket, something like that. It's going to be slightly larger than that. I'm going to put a pilot hole in first to see whether I'm in the right location or not, and then I'll take it from there. I want to do it now so when I paint it I can do all the redressing of the metal work that's exposed. So I'm going to guess about there. That is not a bad guess. So pilot hole is pretty close, it's got to be said. Now this is a battery drill and I've got my proper mains one on standby, because I don't think this is going to be good enough for the job. Give it a go. I think that snapped the blade, it sure did. Alright, this is going to be tougher than I thought. Alright, take two. More power. And hammer. Let's get this. Alright, there we go. It's bigger than I would have wanted. It's not going to affect the integrity of this thing. I'm going to make a bung for that, and as you can see, you can get good access to the bolt here without messing on. Sort of happy with that. Alright, next up, now we've got access. It should, in theory, make this easier. This could be a 1/2 inch rather than a 13. No, it's going to go 13 milli. And that is spinning, so I'm going to need something on the other side. Alright, this isn't going to be pretty, but these needle noses should stop the thread spinning on the inside. I do believe that's good enough. Come on. Gotcha. Alright, next up we need to take the actual cylinder off, which is going to be a bolt, one at the top, which looks a bit tricky to get at. A flathead spanner of some kind in there, and one on the bottom as well, which has better access, so we'll give this one a go first. Right, flathead spanner, one side, 13 milli, and a socket. Not fully. Come on, I've got it. Try not to drop them. Washer and a nut this side. Put those to one side. Okay, that's tricky to get at. I'm not sure if it's on or not. Right. It's on now. It's going to drop down. And there we go. One clutch master cylinder. We'll look at that in a minute. I need to recover all the junk that goes with it, nuts and bolts, and put them for safekeeping. Happy with that, came out easy enough. This is it, what we've been fighting for. I'm not sure which parts I need to keep. I'm assuming I'm going to have to keep the electrical bit and this brass connector here. So I'm going to take that off. I'm not going to do anything until I get the new part and see what I get with the kit. Some people get washers, or should be washers on there to go either side of the adjustment pedal, but no washers on mine, so I don't know whether this has been off before. I doubt it. I certainly haven't taken it off. It's not horrendous, but there was a load of gunk inside, which obviously isn't good when it comes to compressing. And that there's mainly grease and just grime, really. I'm not sure if it's leaking or not, but it's been well worth changing, because I think this may well be the root of all my clutch problems of late. Easy enough to get out if you have the right kit. I did have a sealing cap on it. I took it out when I was inspecting it earlier, so that's that out. And the actual box itself does have a gasket on here. I'm just going to use a sealant instead. Clean all this up. Going to repaint it. Just generally give it a, you can see I've already put some rust killer on. And I need to oil, there's like an oil cap thing for the actual pedal. I think it's that side. That needs doing as well. Generally pretty good condition and should go back together fairly easy. So clean up time. Right, 1 coat of red oxide. It's a bit rough, but it's going to be hidden, and it is just to protect it. It wasn't in bad shape considering, so this will just help you a little bit more. I'll put another coat on when that's dry, and then we'll go over it with a top coat of some kind. Right, I assume I'm going to need this part off the old piece. I'm going to use that again. Pretty sure you don't get this as part of the master slave, so I'm going to grab this while I can and have a general look at this thing to see whether I can see why it's failed. I'm pretty sure it's the dirt. So it's going to come off pretty easy. I think this has a copper washer and I don't have one of those either, so I'll have to sort one of those out. So yeah, I need to recover that. It's got 2 copper washer type setups on that. Oh, that's dirty. Alright, put that somewhere safe. I'm going to clean that up before it goes on. Now this thing is all scrap. I need to keep that because I want to know what the distance of these are, which is pretty much threaded all the way on. So when I come to fit the other one, I've got something to go by. I mean, there's plenty of resistance there still. It's just that clogged up, I think. I reckon I could probably have cleaned this up. But since it's the original part, I'm pretty sure it's the original, it's worth swapping out for a new one, doing them all at the same time. Right, here we go, 1 replacement master cylinder, just an aftermarket part, nothing special. I'm just going to put these in the same position and then sort out the adjustment later on. Hang on. On. Now when I took this off, it didn't have washers on, which it should do, I think. Typical Land Rover, some have them, some don't, but I'm going to put a washer on just so that it's a smoother operation really. I've got so when this came off, I don't know whether it's supposed to have a gasket or not, but there was definitely a sealant or something on there. I think it was sealant because there wasn't much of it left, so I'm just going to replace that with a sealant bead. Should be enough. So this needs to be fed through from this side, and make sure that goes through the hole on the foot pedal. So that's together, and I'm not putting on, where are we? Just drop part of it. I'm not going to put this on until later on because I'm waiting for the copper washers. I reckon I can sneak this in when it's on the vehicle. I'm trying to save time. The postman should be coming later on this afternoon, but I want to get this in place, get all the hard graft done, and hopefully I can just slide this mechanism on. It's just a sensor really. We should be good to go. Right, that's that installed pretty much. I need to hook a few wires and things up here, but I'm waiting for that brass fitting or the copper washers, and then I'll finish the rest of that up. That was quite gnarly to put in, I've got to say. The gasket kept falling off, sliding off as I tried to get it in position. If I was doing it again, I'd put the sealant on and then let it cure overnight, just so the actual gasket stuck on that one side. Gives you a fighting chance. It was just so hard to line the holes up that are down there. Eventually I did it by just trial and error and brute strength. Got the job done. So all that needs tidying up and sorting out. Alright, inside here also needs all putting back together before I do anything else. Loads of bits hanging off. That was really, with the carpet in there, getting your hand, you can see my knuckles are seriously bashed. But being able to push these bolts through to the other side and through the gasket, that was tough going. It's a case of perseverance, I'm afraid. It's a Land Rover after all. Everything's tightened up. You can just see the back edge of the gasket there, the red. So all of this, I'm just going to put all this back together. I'm not going to show that, it's pretty straightforward, goes back where it came. and then we'll get on to looking at the bleed inside and adding the fluid. Almost there. This should be easy, this bit. Everything's pretty clean and pretty accessible from here on in, I like to think, especially after that I can't tell you, just frustrating, that's all. But that's a Land Rover for you. Right, there we go, all trimmed back. It's like a slam plate here, it's held in by 3 bolts. That's back in. I took that out, didn't need to. Fuse box gives a bit of relief to the carpet. This also gives a bit of relief to the carpet, and so does the throttle pedal, which is only 2 bolts. That wasn't too bad actually. So that's all back. The clutch is back in, and everything else, I took a few more of these bits out while I was trying to remove the dashboard to get a bit of movement on it to get this panel out. So you may have noticed mine was put up on the ramps, but it's not necessary. I've only put it up because when I was doing the slave cylinder, it allowed me to get access for the camera on a tripod, and it just made it easier to film really. But if I was doing it again without the camera, it's just unnecessary, and that's why it's still stuck on the ramps even for the master cylinder, because I can't move it. So I'm just going to drop it down now. I don't need it up there anymore, even though the clutch fluid isn't in. I'm just going to drop it down to make it easier and get the fluid level as well when I come to do all the bleeding. Alright, here we go, easy bleed. Comes with assortment of caps. Uses the pressure from something which I haven't decided what I'm going to use yet. I don't want to use a spare tyre. Let's see. This goes on the master clutch reservoir. So we hooked those up. Now I'm going to take a gamble on this. I'm not sure what pressure this tyre is at, and it's meant to be at no more than 20 psi, so I'll give it a go. Right, there we are, all back together, and what a nightmare that was. The actual bleeding of it, I just could not get it where I bled it, and then it just would not disengage the clutch, so I was locked in gear, and I bled it with the pressure bleeder. I tried manually doing it. I tried the reverse bleeding, where I put an oil can onto the bleed nipple on the slave cylinder and tried to feed the clutch fluid into the system that way, and still just could not get it disengaged from gear, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. But now it's up and running. I'm not happy at all because I've stripped the thread on. This is the old one I took off, master cylinder, and this thread has been stripped when I put it on. It's got worse and worse as I've tried to adjust it, and this is just for demonstration purposes, but this is the one I took off, and the two lock nuts were right on the very extreme here of the thread, so that's how I put it back together. But what I figured out is they actually needed to be way back up here for the clutch to engage properly. It just was not working the way I had it. It was just locking the Land Rover in gear. So eventually, even on this strip thread that is currently on installed, which I'm going to swap out again, I'm going to have to do something about it because it's making me nervous that it's the nuts are held on a strip bar at the end of the day. Should be okay, but it's something that will be on the back of my mind, and with wear and tear there's a good chance that the threads will give way. So I've ordered yet another one of these. I'm actually thinking of also getting the red booster set up. It's really expensive for what it is, but I'm tempted to go with that. This was a cheap replacement that I got for this master cylinder. This is the original, probably a Land Rover one, but the one I got was only about £12, aftermarket one, and the thread on it and everything on it was kind of cheap and nasty. Even the lid didn't fit properly. So I ordered a better quality one this time around. So if you're getting one of these, it's definitely worthwhile spending a little bit more. And even though, I mean, I measured where this was to set my clutch up, and I'm nowhere near. It was absolutely, it should have been way down here, so I don't know what's going on with that. Having said that, it was changing gear pretty notchy up until that point. Even before I had the clutch put on, it was notchy, so it probably didn't even need a clutch. I could have got away with just adjusting this thing, but it has the mileage on for justify a new clutch, so that's that. And I'm also not happy with the position of the pedal. When you come to fit this thing, there should be 140 millimeters from the underside of the metal, so you have to take this rubber off. It should be 140 milli from the lowest point of the metal of the clutch pedal all the way to the floor. And you really need to take the carpet out. The carpet, I'm guessing, is about 5 millimeters thick, so I'm adding 5 millimeters onto my measurement, and that's still on mine. It's not high enough. I'm not happy. That's about 130, 125, 130. Needs to go up a little bit more because my bite point is quite low down. I'm going to run with it for a little bit and see how it goes, and just use it day to day and see whether that's any good or not. But finally, get in. It's actually, before I couldn't even get it in, it was just locked on the ramps, it was locked in gear, couldn't do anything about it. But now, third and fourth, it's not bad. I think I can get it better. I'd like to adjust it more, but I've used up all the thread that are there at the moment. If I mess around with it anymore, there's a danger of me doing the threading and not being able to use it at all. But that's okay. It needs bleeding again properly, I think. If I'm going to let it over time, I think it might get a few air bubbles out. If you leave it for a little bit, they do drop the air out just a little bit, and that's all I need really. It's drivable now. Got a test. All the gears pretty good, especially with the slick shift that's on there as well. So that's not too bad, but I'm not happy with it, so I expect possibly an update to the clutch booster setup. Not sure about that yet, mainly on price, so let's see how that goes.